Welcome everyone to Outpost 422. I finally get to bring before you the presentation of the last year of my life. It's been very hectic. I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've pitched a lot of ideas out there. But the most important part about this is that I've learned a lot about how we all interact as a group and how we collaborate with our ideas. This project was to be used for the Wisconsin Department of American Legion Suicide Awareness Committee. Unfortunately, our adjutant stepped down, who helped me start this project, so I've taken this project over to the philanthropies now, and I'm asking for corporations to help me invest in the future of my adopted platoon. Back in November, the Bravo 66 Cavalry Troop from 10th Mountain Division, where is my alma mater, deployed to Afghanistan, and I received an email from the National Association 10th Mountain Division, one of the secretaries that work for there, asking if I would be willing to endorse it, and of course I would. Because Outpost 422, the Outpost, entertains my troops in Afghanistan. They're the minimal viable product. Whether they tune in or not, it could very well be that there's a heightened amount of combat, they're not able to access the internet, but it's always there. The 422 is for veterans like me. I entered into Madison College through the Veterans Integrational Transitional Academic Leadership Program, which is an acronym called VITAL. And those who know me hear me talk about VITAL, VITAL, VITAL all the time. This service supports veterans like me, but it's not just veterans like me. It's all of us who are trauma informed. Now currently, UW-Whitewater is using my Madison College podcast to reach out to other students who are going through COVID-19 right now. Well, it's great, because you see, in combat, when I was in the guard tower, I was watching over all the orphan children in Haiti. I was also finding enemy on their horizon and communicating back and forth as a relay when crisis was about to happen. So that's the whole source of the blogcast service. Now, unfortunately, with the current stay-at-home order and such, right now I'm the interim adjutant for American Legion Post 501. We have no business to report. Our post is currently closed. So we're looking for means to communicate through our Facebook medium. So as of the next term, I will be taking Outpost 422 to develop an ad hoc committee congressionally through members of the Public Relations Committee at Post 501. Also, as a quorum member, as an adjutant, I'm able to do some legal paperwork as far as minute taking and such. My goal is to collect and find the veteran who is on the 11th hour, which is typically the people I meet on State Street, and send them through a Catalyst program to fast track them through school to help them overcome the impossibility of having trauma-informed disabilities like I do. Now, my biggest issue is working with people. So this semester, actually this entire year, I took a program called Launch Your Business, where Outpost 422 was introduced just as a prototype. But what this is becoming now is what's called the Royal Purple Hearts. I'm applying to be a staff writer for the Royal Purple. I talked to Professor Keith Zukis, who has helped me take out ads in the Royal Purple, and I'll just show you one real quick. So for Veterans Day, all of us at Madison College wanted to address the UW Parkside suicide. There was a parking lot suicide from a veteran. So what we did, we wanted the back, obviously we wanted the back page, but we didn't get the back page. We got the next to the back page. So I'll come up to the camera quick and show you. So what this is what's called an ad campaign, okay? So what I'm asking you to do is download PTSD Coach app, but in the lower corner here, that's where the blogcasting begins. This ad takes you on a journey to explore a newspaper on social media. Why not get to know the people you're talking about? If I could take you to that person's place of business or that person's place of interest, say at the Capitol, at their office, and actually show you the person that the news media outlet interviewed, that QR voucher code will take you there. So it's like a choose your own adventure. That's what blogcasting is. You're podcasting, you're blogging, you're interacting with your audience, you're meeting the viewer where they are. And this service was started through American Legion Post 41 in Kaukauna, where I was a service officer. I'm also currently serving as a service officer at Post 501. I plan to continue on that service officer mission and will be running for office this quarter, actually coming up in June since our post is closed. I'm not sure if I'm going to run as adjutant yet, but as of right now, we have no business to report. Our post is closed. And so this is addressing how we as American Legionnaires work with the education system by taking on an internship, writing the pilot, which is Outpost 422. I wrote the pilot for the practicum program at Madison College in pursuit of my journalism certificate, and a fundraiser. This is a digital fundraiser. On the website, www.outpost422.com, we cover all those facets in just one blog. So when I cram a blog together and I take your corporate generous endorsement from a philanthropy into my 501c3, I return that investment to you by allowing you to advertise on my blog website. That's the exchange we have here. That's our reciprocity. Because at the American Legion Post level, we have endorsements in our newsletters. Why not take those endorsements and invest them into students who are actual Purple Heart recipients? And we start moving forward. Now, I'm not a student at UW-Madison, but I plan to do this at Madison College for the University of Wisconsin-Madison MIA, POW MIA Registry Project. Outpost 422 is the headquarters. It would be no different in combat, in the middle of a crisis, when you would go to that headquarters and ask for your orders. We distribute them through blogs. We also adopt veterans on State Street, and we're taking over the Capitol Guardian Angel mission. That's what's happening right now as we speak. This is not a prototype presentation to you. This is the real world, real life, what's happening at Post 501, moving forward with the Wisconsin Department of American Legion Suicide Awareness Committee. Now, I understand the department has a campaign called Engage 22, and they're endorsing an individual in Milwaukee's, it's called Race, and they're taking that committee in that direction. However, this is an actual fast-track Cadillac system. So you'll start out at Madison College after calling the Veterans Crisis Line, receiving your 14-week therapy at the VA. You'll actually join this service to help you with your trauma-informed learning abilities, helping you speak publicly, helping you understand public relations, helping you understand Student Senate, Robert's Rules of Order, opening doors for you with local cooperatives for you to possibly have a part-time job with. That's where we're going with this. And it comes from the support of all of you. So let's take you through the presentation here. This is for UW-Whitewater electronic media copywriting. This is where we're at right now with the current campaign. Right now, Dr. Zukas, Dr. Brady, Dr. Kathy Brady, Dr. Keith Zukas, he runs the Royal Purple, and Dr. Brady is the communications chair. They're helping me develop a UW suicide awareness campaign. And part of this campaign is also case study research. I want all to know how to recognize the signs and symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, terminal brain injury, blast wave trauma, military sexual trauma, the various degrees of separation with survivor's guilt, moral injury. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into this juicy case study at UW-Whitewater, but our interns are going to be at Madison College. So we want to take someone who would not, with a slim to 0% chance of ever transferring to the UW system, and transferring them to the UW system. That's the goal here with Outpost 422. So for my final project this semester, I had to do a radio and a TV ad campaign. This campaign is actually being recorded for practice. I'm going to bounce it off on all of you, but this is where we're going to be moving forward with the Public Relations Committee in support of the Wisconsin Department of American Legion Suicide Awareness Committee. We're also partnered up with Post 13. I'm a member of Post 13 of the VFW in town. I'm also a member of the DAV as a lifetime member. Thank you, DAV, for all your support so far, helping me get through school and helping me win my appeals. Without you, it would not have been possible. But for today, I'm representing the American Legion as a service officer and adjutant who is representing our post, taking out an ad. So the ad started out, my boss wanted to do what's called journalists or superheroes. That's the theme for all of this. And I had to get to work because a lot of my struggles as a veteran in school is feeling like the Uniform Code of Military Justice and the code of ethics that we're sworn to is up here, where everyone else's Robert's Rules of Order is kind of down here. Not a lot of people respect Robert's Rules of Order, and those are my intrusive thoughts. So for me to go into this campaign, I had to take on the mindset of a journalist. And I realized something. I'm pursuing journalism. Outpost 422 is my project for the Madison College Journalism Certificate. So I put my mind in that mindset, and I came out on the other end realizing that frontline journalists are right there with us in combat, who are taking shots, past their head, seeing graphic images like we did in our trauma-informed recalling of memories. But most of all, the person that I'm representing, who is my client, is the senior advisor at Madison College, who I have a strong esteem for, who has supported veterans this whole entire way. My boss's name is Doug Kirchberg. Doug has been extremely supportive of me, not only with understanding how to talk on the radio, how to develop a podcast, how to increase viewership, marketing campaigns. He helped me with building my website. He helped me with learning how to write objectively, not from my personal gonzo journalism preference, which is a writer named Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson was somebody I was very passionate about in high school, so I thought, well, that's journalism. I'll write that way. Well, unfortunately, doing meta commentary through an article is usually frowned upon, but we'll get into that later. Doug is my client for this ad campaign, and Doug has been extremely supportive this whole entire way. Doug Kirchberg, thank you so much for supporting the efforts of the American Legion to end veteran suicide. I certainly hope all the administrators at Madison College are aware as well that we're gaining ground and we're gaining momentum with this campaign. So thank you, UW Whitewater, for endorsing this campaign to be a consortium student at Madison College. As the service officer, as the adjutant, as a member of the Department of Wisconsin American Legion Suicide Awareness Committee, just to learn the all-around ins and outs of what an ad hoc committee would have to do. So that's what this campaign took on, the role of being like an ad hoc committee. So again, here we are. I was telling you all about the ad we took out. I actually showed it to you in person. Well, here on paper, I want to tell you the backstory. Doug and I sat down one day with the group, and we're like, let's issue like a ice bucket challenge to the university, and let's have them support the fundraiser. We want to start a foundation at Madison College, Outpost 422, that helps fund interns and help them survive through school, but is also like an academic writing club. So the American Legion Post 501 Public Relations Committee has been working to develop a homework club for students who go to Madison College that are veterans there. And it's not just veterans for us. We care about our auxiliary. We care about all who are trauma informed. What we're trying to create here is a mode of communication amongst us, so it's not, I'm a PTSD vet. Well, I suffered a car accident. Well, I served in combat. Well, I'm a civilian. No, we need to become one. We need to become unified. Outpost 422 is unity amongst the whole entire trauma community. All of us is one solidarity, looking out for one another, avoiding microaggressions. For those who are not aware of microaggressions, that's unwelcome to speak. Telling somebody, and this is the one I hear all the time. I hear it all the time in the American Legion. Grow some thick skin. No. It's easy for you to say. You see, you're not the appraiser. The only appraiser in all this is the VA medical board doctor who determines whether or not that person has PTSD. Outside of all that, it's none of your business. So as a service officer, I stand at the top of the mound with my flag firmly in place at Outpost 422, and I say to all of you, it is not okay to use abusive speak towards anyone who has a disability or who is an elderly person staying at the VA, who's incoherent, any of those realms. And I'm the guardian here, and this is my watchtower. And we're going to take on the world one veteran at a time, one trauma-informed mind at a time, one thought at a time, and we do so through advertising. So my client here at Madison College, we issued the Royal Purple a challenge. We wanted the Royal Purple to take an ad out in the Badger Herald. We wanted the Badger Herald to take an ad out in the Wisconsin State Journal, but it only got to the Royal Purple level. Time ran out. I was extremely busy with the general manager of broadcast internship. So Doug and I got to work, we brainstormed, we talk about the good, we talk about the bad and the ugly. It's usually every one of our weekly discussions is the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know. Something I said on the air may have been misconstrued, or naming names, any of that kind of stuff. So in this campaign, again, the QR voucher code takes you on a journey through an interactive newspaper. Instead of opening the newspaper every day and just seeing the article, no, the article comes to life. If you're that dedicated to wanting to know more about the story and fact checking, these QR codes will take you to the places where the fact checks are found through hyperlinks, through PayPal donations, pay to play, so to speak, and through YouTube, our own personal YouTube channel. So now we kick off the campaign here. This is the radio ad. So I met with my client, Doug Kirchberg, and we discussed our needs. And his big need was that he wanted to create a campaign where journalists are superheroes. And currently, with the impeachment and everything, there's been a lot of heightened animosity, fake news, labeling the media as tabloid. When we go to school and we learn ethics, no different than when I swore my hand to the Constitution in support of the Constitution of the United States, so help me God, when I joined the military. Journalists are sworn to ethics. The problem in the media, there's citizen journalism. It's all over Facebook and Twitter. How can you tell the difference between a blogger who is trained as a journalist and a blogger who's just somebody who picked up a Blogger account and just started blogging? You don't know. Well, that's why Doug and I created this campaign to recognize journalists, at the minimum. But the meta behind this, Kirchberg wanted to do a recruiting video. So our target was to build a campaign centered around dispelling myths that journalists are villains. Journalists bring you the truth, just like veterans in the combat zone. If they're not there taking pictures of it and seeing it firsthand, if they're not at Congress opening the door and walking in and doing reporting for us and have us our news articles, how are they, or how are we, or how are anyone going to know what's on the horizon that could possibly harm them? That's what the Outpost is all about. Seeing past the horizon, overcoming the impossibility of being trauma-informed by becoming a journalist, standing in the grace and glory of the truth. That is how you think of a journalist. So the ad campaign was, first off, I created a CG slide. It said, what do you think of when you hear the word journalist? CG stands for computer generated images. When I think of a journalist, I think of tedious, meticulous, hard work. And that's what went into this whole entire campaign, was a lot of hard work. So here's the ad. So this logo right here, if you go to www.outpost422.com, you can click on this icon on my WordPress account and actually go to that server and listen. Now, when you're in that time of crisis in combat, or you're in a situation where you're having crisis in school and you can't get your thoughts together like I used to have, that I don't anymore, or you're in the heat of a panic attack and you need low light in your classroom, put this on your headphones. Please put this on your headphones. It's a calming mechanism. Most of the songs on this server are just jazz. And there's a little bit of rock and roll. There's a little bit of all that good stuff. But please, tune in, www.clarionradio.com. I'm the outgoing general manager of broadcast, but I will be continuing to serve Madison College at the capacity of pursuing my business plan certificate. I'm coming back to create campaigns. I've got one more year at Madison College to help tie MATC with the American Legion, VFW, and DAV to help support the troops who come home from combat that are listening on Clarion Radio, that do select the University of Wisconsin, to start out at Madison College, to write, to broadcast, to do commercials, infomercials, recruiting, marketing, any of those kind of things for Outpost 422 at Madison College. When you are done and you have your journalism certificate in hand, you come see me, you join the Royal Purple staff, and we do on-campus Royal Purple, Purple Heart coverage. We're going to take a feature story and we're going to write about one person who has a Purple Heart. We're going to go out and we're going to find them, because it's our duty to tell people this story about those who have served our nation, who've taken a bullet or lost a leg or done anything traumatic for our human safety. So this commercial starts out with frontline journalists risk their lives to uncover the truth. They're America's unsung heroes. Unsung heroes. How often do you hear people talk good about journalists? What's the subtlety? I want you to think about that. The cinematic music I'm using, there's a video out there I created for my friend Jeremy Damel. It has the actual Ben sound cinematic sequence I wanted to use for this. Kind of get your heart pumping, like you're in the combat zone, like we used to feel. And so then when boom, the sirens and explosions go off, the sounds are up and under with that. The cinematic feature slowly builds, and then you hear explosions along with that cinematic music that calms down right around at 15 seconds, and then it talks about how although frontline journalists cannot leap tall buildings like Superman, they do protect the American way. My boss wanted me to use either Peter Parker or Clark Kent, and with social distancing and at-home learning, I wasn't able to get into any of the legality of all this, but I did use some of the Robert's Rules of Order ad hoc policies from the Student Senate and school to incorporate this ad to make sure that everything was copacetic. The frontline journalists go to impossible lengths to seek justice when reporting the evening news. The Madison College Clarion seeks frontline superheroes applied student life. The Clarion appreciates all frontline journalists risking their lives, America's superheroes. So let's talk about this. Now, one of the sound effects is a pan over. So when you're going to hear this 30-second ad, something's going to go from the left to the right of the speaker. That simulates what I heard in combat when I heard a bullet graze my face. It happened on several occasions. And leading into that, near misses, being up in those guard towers in Port-au-Prince like I was. America doesn't talk about the combat mission I was on. They just don't. It's always post 9/11, Vietnam, Korea, World War I, World War II. All of us in Panama, Haiti, Somalia, Bosnia, Grenada, nobody talks about us. Well, here we're doing it. It's through advertising. We don't have to speak. We have the meta. We speak from the meta. We're elder veterans. We don't need to resort to any kind of picking fights with the younger generation. We just understand, as the older generation, we did what we had to do, and we did our job, and we did it well. And that's all that matters. So on every week, like I said, we had the good, the bad, the ugly. The good is obviously the superhero image. The bad is that our president picks on journalists all the time. And the ugly is that libelous political claims can get my client in trouble. The most important thing for me as an American Legion service member is branding, is solvency, is what kind of brand are you representing? What kind of claims are you making? What kind of fallacies do you speak? Are you speaking the truth when you're getting up before a group of people and sharing this information, or are you just winging it? Well, this campaign was never winged. This picture was actually taken by me in Washington, D.C., in Arlington. This actual PowerPoint slide is the storyboard for the commercial. And so the good out of all of this was the opportunity with my own trauma-informed injuries to explore and to get into the moment of what it's like to be an advertising agent. But then to have this in my portfolio later on, which is this video, to share what the veteran college experience is all about. It's a gift available to you through the Wisconsin GI Bill if you're not eligible for any of the other services. But it just keeps going and going and going. There's perks in college. Journalism certificate was a perk for a class that I took. So I followed the rabbit hole, and now here we are today doing advertising at UW-Whitewater. Possibilities are endless. It's up to you to decide how you are going to convey to your audience, to those who you care about, and to the world, how college is going to help you end veteran suicide. But it's not just veteran suicide. It's everything. It's trauma-informed moral injury. It's everything. We're a spectrum community. We are a spectrum community. We all have different injuries. Not all injuries are the same. And so the ugly is that I have to deal with this every day. But the good is that your Wisconsin GI Bill has put me where I am today in this video, standing before you as an American Legion service officer, interim adjutant, able to work with a client without any disruptions. And that's the gift. So now the TV ad, this photo was taken. I'm adopting, like I said, the Bravo 66 Cavalry Platoon. The video itself was centered around a lot of infographics. The breaking news was Walter Cronkite. I wanted to use a sample from him. His breaking news stories. Walter Cronkite is I look at him like he's God. I do. I love Walter Cronkite because my dad loved Walter Cronkite. Becoming a journalist and being a congressional advocate for veterans with trauma-informed injuries has led me into journalism. So journalism for me is a therapy. Basic concept here, the combat outpost. This is in Afghanistan. As you see here, the frontline journalist is right directly behind the member of the 10th Mountain Division. I was with 3rd Battalion, 6th Field Artillery, also with 1st Battalion, 7th Field Artillery in Port-au-Prince. We were attached to convoy securities for special forces, interpreters, and convoy missions. We saw a lot of action over there, more so on the lines of less than lethal, but there was a lot of conflict over there. They call us soft war. Well, as you can see in this picture, there's nothing soft about war. So whoever Congress came up with that term soft war, it really doesn't fit the bill, I'm sorry to say. So in this ad, this TV ad, I use a lot of sound on tape only because there's a lot of reporting going on and editing, and with all the scenes and collaboration, using sound on tape would be the only way to do this commercial. With, fade in, fade out, crossfade, fade to black. I mean, it's only 30 seconds, but it's a fast 30 seconds, just like journalism in the field is a fast 30 seconds. So now this is the platoon that I've adopted. Bravo 66 in Afghanistan, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're calling attention to the heroic efforts of journalists. The bad is that journalism is a dangerous field. I mean, it's really a hard sell. How many people really want to join the Army? How many people really want to be journalists? Well, if you're a vet, you're already conditioned to be a journalist. As you can see here, if you're coming from Afghanistan to Outpost 422 and going right to the Royal Purple Hearts through scholarships and free college and free housing and free transportation, not much more you can ask for. It's a solid sell. If you're out there right now and you see this video and you're interested in finding a career as a veteran, but your brain says that you just can't, you pick up the phone, you call 1-800-273-8255, you press 1, talk to the Veterans Crisis Line, and then you end up right here. End up right here, doing these videos, helping veterans out there build campaigns so that you can end veteran suicide. That's the ugly part of it all. See, journalists also suffer post-traumatic stress disorder. So I'm taking a solemn pledge in this campaign for my client Doug Kirchberg at the Madison College, Clarion, on behalf of American Legion Post 501 as a service officer, to promote education to veterans who are stationed in Afghanistan at the minimum. I mean, at the minimum. And there's 60 of them right now that are benefiting from this service. So the ugly frontline journalists are exposed to things like real world conditions. Let's go into the recap, the overview. This is a picture of me doing Outpost 422 live. You're welcome to go to soundcloud.com. There's samples of this show. The main focus here is my case study at UW-Whitewater. For undergraduate research, I'm investigating the stuck point and the alternative thought. This is what the VA taught me. So when I introduce to your members on the shop floor a method to track how they're thinking for 2 weeks, so when they go to their EAP appointment, they take a service that's already going to be provided to them 5 months from now and gets them started on journaling right away. Before your employee goes off and takes that journey through the Veterans Crisis Line, they should know what they're getting into first, because I didn't. And I don't want that to ever happen to someone again. And that's the ugly side of being a disabled veteran in America. Sometimes we just have to quit our jobs for us to get well. So the show is centered around interviewing people. We're in the guard tower. When we speak, it's bringing the culture from combat to the American people so that they can investigate and view how post-traumatic stress disorder develops a veteran as a consortium student who eventually becomes a journalist at UW-Whitewater. I'm pushing UW-Whitewater. The communications department has been extremely accommodating for me. I mean, every one of my professors, Professor Zukas, Professor Brady, Professor Becker, Professor Lepp over in political science, my 4 professors at Whitewater have been top-notch. They all adore vets. They all take care of us, but they're endorsing the idea of using the podcast to help people overcome the impossibility of trauma. Matter of fact, Dr. Brady sent the email to the department chairs to announce that the case study was going to begin and that she wanted everyone to use this service so that people could understand in the moment of crisis with COVID-19 how a veteran who's been fighting it for over 20 years has gotten to this point now where he's about to transfer in another year. So my responsibility next year with Madison College is to help American Legion Post 501 develop a recruitment program on Facebook by developing their prototype. So the two working together, I'm also going to help VFW Post 1318 develop theirs. I'm indiscriminate. I belong to all 3 organizations. I belong to many organizations. Society of Professional Journalists is one of them. And it would be unethical for me to exclude any one of you from helping another veteran or someone who's trauma-informed escape suicide. So what I'm going to do, what I plan to do, this is the question: what will you do different working with my client in the future? I will sit them down and I will give them multiple samples. With homework and everything, it was kind of rushed. I didn't have a lot of time. This semester I took on the Madison College Challenge, the Whitewater Citizens Police Academy, investigative journalism, documentary storytelling, interpersonal communication, and electronic media copywriting. On top of that, I'm also putting out for general manager of broadcast 2 podcasts a week. My workload is here. And for those of you who've been affected by my avoidance from all of this, do know that once this is all said and done, the workload is going to be down here. I can't operate at this level anymore. The general manager of broadcast requires you to take 2 classes at Madison College. Well, for me to hold down my home school at UW Whitewater, I got to take 2 classes there. So 4 classes with 6 hours on the road, plus the commitment, 10 hours a week to do it all and serve the American Legion is just way too much. So for my own self-care, once this ad is done, in the books, rubric graded, sent out, we now have a working prototype to help all who are trauma-informed navigate through Madison College into UW Whitewater. I'm not really interested in getting too far out into the university until we get this figured out and developed through the philanthropies at UW Whitewater first. One of the individuals I met with operates what's called the Patriot Hiring Program. Him and I sat down and talked about it. He's going to help me find more grants. And if you're out there right now and you're a philanthropist and you want to endorse this project, please do. May 22nd, I'll be presenting the Madison College Challenge PowerPoint for Outpost 422. It's a VA diversion program to use the company EAP and create a corporate gain share so that the veterans who are not using the VA and using the Mission Act are getting paid fat in bonuses. We don't want to discourage them from the VA, but if you look at me, my story is I'm a guy who sat for 20 years trying to get into voc rehab, who never did. I'm a guy who sat in appeals for over 10 years trying to get my chronic disorders figured out that the VA kept denying. We don't want that. It wasn't until I used the corporate EAP that the VA recognized my symptoms and awarded my claims, thanks to DAV. So our program, our broadcast, will educate how the Mission Act works and how you can divert from using the VA and go straight to the company EAP and let the VA take care of those who really need it, and let all of us who are getting treated, who are getting at the outpatient phase, start using the corporate philanthropies through UW Health on campus. We have enough people trying to defend their dissertations to try and assemble something where we don't always have to go to the VA. Right now at UW Whitewater, I can't get the vital services from Madison College, so I'm a consortium student to stay on Madison College campus to continue to use that VA service. I want that service on all UW campuses, and I'm advocating for it. This ad campaign is advocating for better mental health, respects to veterans on campus. So as we conclude today, I want to share with all of you the 5 key points of the ad campaign. Now, first off, a TV ad and a radio ad, that's a lot of brainstorming that goes into that. You have a storyboard. You have the recording, the production, the timeliness, the scripts, knowing how to put the scripts together, knowing what layers to use for sound effects and such. With my client, Doug Kirchberg, I really enjoyed the fact that we were able to take a real life scenario and actually create something out of it. One of the things I want to share in conclusion with all of you who are going to school, if you take on the mindset of an entrepreneur with your professors, you treat them as your clients, like I've had to do here, they become your customers. Now let me repeat that. If you take on the entrepreneurial mindset and you treat your professors as clients, they will eventually become your customers. This is proof. Because there are several professors endorsing this right now who absolutely positively believe in helping all of us who are coming from the VA, who are struggling with thoughts of suicide, moral injuries, chemical addiction, being justice involved, being homeless, being out on the street. We're here to help you. And we want you, all of you, who are struggling right now with trauma-informed injuries to at least have something as a minimum for you to fall back on, and that's www.outpost422.com. It all started with that PTSD Coach app ad in the Royal paper, Royal Purple. And you see what happens is, it starts with an idea. Then it turns into a brainstorm. Then after a brainstorm, the people that are extremely passionate will come forward. They will help you. They will help you achieve that overcoming impossibility, because they will be there for you in the very end. What you'll get at the very end is a collaborating effort of people who truly do care. That one veteran suicide in the parking lot is too many. Now, we here at the Madison District 2 area in Congress, we have the National Suicide Research Center. So let's take this ad campaign and let's grow it. Let's support the National Suicide Research Center here at the Madison VA by filling it and stocking it with plenty of information through the Oracle server, so that we can create recruitment to continue to have a robust University of Wisconsin system. Attendance is down. The future is very, very bleak right now. But with ways of recruiting and promoting, we can get those numbers back out. In solidarity, we can restore hope. Thank you.